And I remember saying this statement, and they just looked at me like, that's never going to be possible.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to make everyone into a designer. And
Yeah.
they're like, what does that even mean?
When I pull up, 2 subs in the back, playing all them old school tracks. When I pull up, no, you already heard. You ain't gotta say another word. When I pull up, they notice.
Welcome to our second episode of Small Talk, where we get to have some small chit chat with people that we think are pretty interesting around the Vancouver tech industry. And today, I'm really fortunate to be sitting with Eugene Suyu, who I like to dub as Vancouver's most interesting person.
Cool.
Because the more I learn about you, the more fascinated I get. And you always send me down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So I'm super, super excited. And we're going to chit-chat about some of the things that you're working on.
Cool.
And get to learn a little bit more about you, maybe.
Okay.
You open to that?
Open book.
You sure?
Yep.
Are you-
Always.
Really?
Yep.
Ooh, it feels like a challenge.
Take it as you want to, I guess. Yeah.
So you have a company,
Yep.
a local company, right? Focused on 3D printers, 3D printing. How did that get started?
Long story, short story, which one?
The
The best condensed version I can give.
perfect.
Okay, fourth year university comes around last year. Well, I guess it's like technically fifth year university, not fourth.
Yeah.
And I see a 3D printer in the labs at SFU, CIAT, the program. Freaking awesome. I'm a designer. I like making things. This literally makes things for me. I don't even have to fabricate it by hand. I just need to just press a button, send it over. And so I said to myself, I'm going to get myself one.
Yeah.
I don't know how I was going to get one. It wasn't viable to buy one commercially. And I checked online. I always do my due diligence online first. And yeah, sure enough, they're like $20,000. I didn't have $20,000 at the time.
Crazy.
And so I said, there must be something out there that I can make. And so I started looking, and sure enough, came around the open source project that was available. I think it's called RipRap. And then I went down that rabbit hole for a long time. It was like a year and a half of just sinking my time into building a kit that worked. But that was the experience of the open source project at the time. And I'm pretty sure it's gotten better since then. But I always just felt that there was more fixing than there was using the printer that I made. And so I said, this whole entire thing was based off of somebody else's design, and I'm pretty sure there was a lot of good things, and I learned a lot of it from the open source project. And I said, I can do better. I can't do it alone. I can do better. I can design this hardware better. I set up the whole company first as a project than anything else. I gathered 4 friends, and I said, you know what? Let's just do this. Yeah. We just jumped right into it. We kind of divided the tasks up to everyone. Some people are doing hardware, some people are doing software, some people are doing UX and UI. We're all UX UI guys, the founders.
Yeah.
And here we are 5 years later
That's like
with the product.
crazy to me that you have people from design who are so used to, there's a lot of thinking and sketching and drawing, and then that becomes your output for a lot when you think about it.
Yep.
And then you're just like, we have no idea. I'm okay not having any clue.
Yeah.
I am embracing the unknown, and let's do this. Because that is a huge leap.
I still remember when we got the first alpha machine all assembled, and we were standing there going like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. We're gonna fire it up and make it move for the first time. and then
What
it
did you
moved.
print? What was your first print?
It was a cube. Our first prints were always a square 10mm cube at the time.
Yes.
But it wasn't even a cube that we were printing at the time. We didn't even have a deposition head on the unit. We just wanted to see if the mechanics would work, because the way that we built the machine is it was a cantilevering gantry system. So it was missing 2 support structures in the front.
Gotcha.
And we said to ourselves, this will work. Yeah, for sure this will work. Everyone was skeptical because it shakes a little bit, it translates into the print. And when we fired it up for the first time and it actually moved and the cantilevering wasn't as bad as we thought it was, at that moment it was like, okay, this will work, right? And then we threw everything in. The software, the actual deposition head, everything went in at that time. And then we had to figure out all the capital cost of
All the other stuff.
We didn't care about that, right? We wanted
You
to.
shouldn't.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I think if you worried about that at the beginning, it just kind of slows you down.
Yeah.
Right? We had one goal, and the goal is to just get the hardware done.
Lightning round questions.
Okay.
First answer that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right. They're
This is
totally
dangerous.
It's dangerous. Not going to make sense.
Okay.
It's like everything I wish for in life.
Yeah.
Okay. You're in high school. What is the most popular song of your time? Gonna date you.
Oh God. Blink 182. Oh God, I can't remember the song name, but it's from Blink 182.
Oh, there you go. That's everyone. It's the whole album. If you had one superpower, what would it be?
Oh man. Okay. Cloning myself. Multiply. Yeah, just multiply.
That's a pretty good one.
But I always said that I would go insane. Working with myself, I'd probably go insane. But it would be nice to be able to just be like, you do that.
Yeah, delegate.
Yeah.
Clone and delegate.
Yeah.
What's the last thing that you've done that you felt some regret?
I've actually said this quite a lot to the guys at Tinkerine.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one thing I can nail down that I've done that I can say I'm actually regretful for.
Okay.
How do you do it?
Yeah. Show me your ways.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, there's one thing. In the summer, this summer, I was walking around my backyard barefoot.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I was going
As
to
you
get
do.
stung. Yeah. And sure enough, I stepped on a bee. And I was like,
Oh.
well, yeah.
This is a perfect segue. I wish there was a segue walking through. To why is there a bee in your backyard?
I keep bees. Started keeping bees like 3 years ago just because I wanted to learn something new.
So you started with bees.
I mean, yeah. It was in second year university when I said I was going to get into beekeeping.
So
And then,
long-term goal.
no, right there and then, I said I was going to go buy some bees. And then I told my parents, and they said, no, there's no way you're getting into bees. We don't want bees in the backyard.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Where do you get bees? Like in Vancouver?
You
in
go,
case...
you go to a store
Yeah.
that sells bee equipment, and then you order the bees from them, and it comes in a box. It literally just comes in a box with a whole bunch of frames inside. And
It's
you-
not precarious at
they
all.
tell you to not bring it home. Oh, sorry, they tell you to not open it until you bring it home.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be like, good luck getting them back in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then once you get back, you throw your equipment together, and you kind of hope for the best.
And did you get the best?
Yeah.
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 I mean, it was kind of successful the first year, and
Yeah.
I'm still doing it, so
Yeah.
pretty good. I think 3D printing, where it becomes really special is the process,
Yeah.
right? The soft skills that people learn, the collaborative nature of the technology, and then the agility of the technology.
Yeah.
You can get something in your hands in like 4 to 8 hours, and some people think that's a long time.
Yeah.
But if you think about traditional manufacturing, it's
Yeah.
like 2-4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, at the earliest,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And then as shipping time and everything goes,
Yeah.
goes a little longer. And then once you get it, you have to go through that whole process again, another 2-4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the speed of 8 hours, while it may seem like a long time in the classroom,
Yeah.
it's actually really quick in
Yeah.
real life business application type
Yeah.
of scenario. It is taking the knowledge that you know from one industry or one vertical of study and mixing it with another vertical of study.
Yeah.
Right? And when you take science and technology and you mix them together, someone might find that they have an interest in biology, let's just say bees, for example, and they have the ability to leverage technology.
Convenient example.
And I've done this, right? The ability that they know how to do design work, how to
Yeah.
take the technology and leverage it to its fullest, and you build a new product that the industry has never seen before,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And that's where the beauty of the tool is.
Yeah.
You can make anything that you want, but if you don't know how to make that thing
Yeah.
that you want, then it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. We talk about code in that way. Like, code's a tool.
Yeah.
And it's a form of expression. And often, like 3D printing too is sometimes just the output of that expression as well,
Right.
or more, depending on how you're using it. And so, there's so many opportunities, but it's hard to wrap. You do, like, you said it perfectly. Like, you have to turn that upside down a little bit, and so you kind of have to do that in order to in order to be like, not like me. I just print stuff like, this is cute, cool, but like, I mean, the moment that I could create
Yeah.
something that solved an immediate problem that I had was the moment that I got it.
Right. We actually say it internally, which is, we don't want our products or any of the technology to be staying in the closet. That defeats the purpose of this technology going into
Yeah.
schools. And so when we talk about, building the actual curriculum or the workshop challenges for the classroom, a lot of it stems from a place of trying to figure out ways to save teachers' time.
Yeah.
There is
They don't
just
have none. They
there's-
have no
there
time.
is no time to do all that prep
Yeah.
work. And this is a new technology. This is a new thing that's going into the classrooms. It's going into businesses. So the
Yeah.
students are going to be facing this technology in the future.
Yeah.
And so how do we help them figure this whole ecosystem out without them stumbling. We do that, we provide the infrastructure, and then what we were surprised by is that teachers took that infrastructure and built some things of their own,
Yeah, that's cool.
right?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just, make a spinning top. It's like, oh, we're gonna take the base framework, let's make emojis out of it.
Yeah.
Because it's the same.
Yeah. How do we make this immediately relevant in the context that we need it for?
Yeah.
Which is that second step, right?
Right.
Do you understand your impact of what you created and how many people are using it?
Okay, so yes. How many people? How many people have used it or own it?
Used it.
Geez, you're trying to make me think about how many students go through a grade and how many grades it's been. I'm gonna say well over like 10,000, give or take.
Does that ever like resonate with you and kind of hit home?
That's the first
impact?
time someone has asked me that question. No, never thought about it until today.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think of the impact that you're having
Right.
and your company's having, right?
Yeah.
You should
Yeah.
think about that. I'm gonna make you think about
You
that.
just did.
I know.
You just did.
Yeah, no, today you're gonna be like, oh my gosh. And that's another episode of Small Talk. Thank you, Eugene, for being our guest.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, we're just gonna put in a clap track there so we can woo. Stay tuned to see who we have next for a little bit of chit chat. See you later.